Bruce Lee's fight scenes are legendary. They don't just showcase his unmatched speed, precision, and power, they also demonstrate his deep understanding of martial arts strategy and psychology. Every punch, every kick, every movement was calculated to not only defeat his opponent, but to teach the audience about the real art of combat. Let's take a look at Bruce Lee's top 10 most famous fight scenes and what made them so iconic. 1. Bruce Lee vs. Chuck Norris in The Way of the Dragon, 1972. Perhaps his most famous cinematic fight, Bruce Lee's battle with Chuck Norris in the Coliseum, is a clash of two martial legends. What makes this fight stand out is the contrast in their fighting styles. Norris's powerful karate against Lee's lightning-fast, fluid movements. It's an incredible showcase of Bruce's strategy. He adapts, outsmarts, and overwhelms Norris with speed and unpredictability, ultimately proving that intelligence in combat trumps brute strength. This scene became a cultural milestone in martial arts cinema. 2. Bruce Lee vs. O'Hara in Enter the Dragon, 1973. In one of the most iconic scenes of Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee takes on O'Hara, a hot-headed fighter who underestimates Lee's abilities. What makes this fight memorable is how Lee effortlessly destroys O'Hara, using calm, calculated moves that demonstrate his superiority and showing how a real fighter adapts to an opponent's weaknesses. The one-inch punch and Lee's flawless technique here became emblematic of his economic use of energy. 3. Bruce Lee vs. Sammo Hung in Enter the Dragon, 1973. This fight is a classic example of Bruce Lee's dynamic range. He is pitted against a much larger opponent, but still manages to show that speed and precision are more important than size. The fight's choreography features a lot of technical, close-quarters fighting, demonstrating Bruce's ability to mix boxing, Wing Chun, and street fighting. It's a perfect example of efficiency in combat. 4th Bruce Lee vs. Bob Wall in Enter the Dragon, 1973. In this legendary fight scene, Bruce Lee takes on Bob Wall, who plays the ruthless and skilled fighter, Bolo. What makes this scene stand out is Bruce Lee's effortless control and how he builds a strategy against an opponent much larger than himself. It's a display of tactical brilliance. Bruce doesn't overpower Bolo with brute force. He overwhelms him with speed, agility, and precise strikes. 5. Bruce Lee vs. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game of Death, 1978. In one of his most unforgettable scenes, Bruce Lee faces off against the 7'2" NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This fight is a chess match in motion, with Bruce having to adapt to the size and power difference. The fight choreography blends kung fu and athleticism in a unique way, with Bruce using his footwork and fluidity to outmaneuver Kareem's long limbs. It's a fight that demonstrates Bruce Lee's mental and physical superiority in combat. 6. Bruce Lee vs. the Guards in Enter the Dragon, 1973. This fight is a great demonstration of Bruce Lee's dynamic combat abilities in a confined space. Armed with only his bare hands, Bruce Lee fights off multiple opponents in a classic martial arts showdown. It's a great example of his use of environment. Bruce uses his surroundings to disarm and defeat his opponents, proving that real combat isn't about being stronger, it's about being smarter. 7. Bruce Lee vs. Bolo in The Big Boss, 1971. In The Big Boss, Bruce Lee faces the imposing Bolo, who was a dominant force in the film. The fight is an explosive display of Bruce Lee's martial prowess, demonstrating how a smaller fighter can defeat a stronger opponent through speed, agility, and unrelenting focus. What's truly iconic about this fight is how Bruce uses psychological tactics, like baiting his opponent into underestimating him before striking with explosive force. 8. Bruce Lee vs. Dan Inosanto in Game of Death, 1978. This sparring match between Bruce Lee and his real-life friend and martial arts partner Dan Inosanto shows Bruce in a more technical setting. Inosanto, trained in Filipino martial arts, matches Bruce in skill. However, the fight isn't about brute force. It's about flowing, adapting, and understanding the essence of combat. The scene showcases Bruce's philosophical approach to fighting. There is no fixed style. He adapts to every movement with a flowing sense of precision. 9. Bruce Lee vs. the Henchman in Fist of Fury, 1972. In Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee faces off against a group of henchmen in a dojo. The scene is a pure display of Lee's speed and overwhelming power as he dispatches multiple enemies at once. What makes this sequence unforgettable is the way Bruce Lee showcases his groundbreaking choreography, using his hands and feet with lightning precision. The scene also highlights his mentality. He's not simply fighting, he's asserting his dominance.